So I used to be a diesel mechanic, and I used to work over in Gillette. And we'd work on equipment. But after I got done being a diesel mechanic and started going to my undergrad, in the summers, I'd go over and run equipment. And so some of the equipment that we'd run were the 400-ton haul trucks on the bottom left. That's me. I got put on this truck. These trucks had 12-cylinder motors coupled together. They're dyno matched, so they had to be super close in performance. And the trucks themselves were so big that they were having structural problems. Like the frames are starting to crack. And so what they did was they put sensors on the frame, and they would test two things. Test tip forward and backwards, and also the twist. So they kind of gamified it, and so the operators got reports at the end of the shift, and the reports are racks and pitches. So the racks and pitches would tell us how much strain is put on the equipment, and so then they could do two things. Either reduce the speed of the truck, and they would limit it from 7th or 8th gear down to 3rd or 4th gear. Or they'd get operators that could take and run the truck well and not push it too hard, but still get good performance and good counts out of it. So I got to run that truck out of the few hundred people that were out there all summer long. I don't know if they're trying to keep me there and keep me working there, or if I did a good job driving, because I understood the concept of stress and strain and being able to help them collect the data and be able to keep productive. Because if you have mechanics that are working on equipment, if you're breaking things, they have to do more work. And then they blame the operator, so it's this back and forth thing. So now it's down to, let's figure out what it is in the truck and why it's failing. So the last few years, since 2018, we've worked with the Rapid City Fire Department. And we've done their physicals, we've done their evaluations, we've done their return to works. We've been out with the fire department, got to see all their training that they do and spend a lot of time with them. And we got to be part of their family. And the first year, they're like, who the heck is this Dr. Bob guy? And yes, the second year got better. Third year, we're part of the family. I didn't realize how much you could feel a part of a business family. And it was a culture thing. And when we took and gave presentations to them and taught them, very similar to what we do here for you guys, I literally started to get good friends out of the fire department, and it's pretty awesome. So in 2018, we took and got to start touring around with them. And then in 2018, they asked if I could speak and present for the fire department at Chiefs Conference. So every single fire chief came to Deadwood, and they were at this event, and so they asked me to be the keynote speaker. Wow, thanks. It's pretty exciting. So in January or February, something like that, I joined this business group, and then they had an annual meeting the same weekend of the Chiefs Conference. So I'm like torn. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? So I ended up saying I'm going to do this because I'm a man of my word. I'm going to follow through, but I'm going to try to over-deliver in any way I can. So we ended up, the conference was up in New York City, and so I had the idea. I was like, all right, I want to interview someone from the New York City Fire Department. Does anybody remember 9/11? Has any ever been to New York City to the memorial? What's it feel like when you go down?
You can feel it, yeah.
What's the sound?
Somber.
Yeah. That is the word that everybody uses when they reflect on it and say, when you're in this hustle and bustle of New York City, you go down by the memorial for the Twin Towers, and it's quiet. Like it's this crazy, eerie, somber feeling. So I interviewed the guy. Anyway, I asked in this group, I said, hey, is there anybody that knows a firefighter or has a connection with the fire department? One of the ladies was like, yeah, my husband retired there. I'm like, okay. And so I called him, talked to him, had this interview with him. And he said, yeah, I was one of the guys that responded the day they fell. I was there in it. And he remembers and he tells me the story of driving in and he could smell burning flesh. He knew his friends were dying as he was pulling up to go and help pull people out of the rubble, save people from the towers. And he said, we lost a lot that day. But we got a phone call from Oklahoma City, from the bombing, and he said they warned them that this is not the biggest loss you're going to have. The biggest loss that you're going to have is a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Currently, they've lost over 3,000 firefighters. Depression, suicide, divorces, cancer. So the data was there from Oklahoma City to say, hey guys, be ready. This is coming. So with the Chiefs conference, I called around to the hotels. I was like, hey, is there any chance I can get a room that overlooks there? And everything was really booked up. But then I pulled the fire department card and I'm like, is there any chance I can do a presentation from one of the rooms for the fire department in South Dakota for the Chiefs conference? They're like, heck yeah. So like when I say you feel part of a family instantly in the fire department, they got me a room that was at the 12th, 10th floor, something like that, overlooking the memorial. So I gave the presentation from afar, had my team down at the conference and did what we do today. So I was able to get a cool experience, get the data as far as the warning from Oklahoma City, the discussion of that, talking to the firefighter, but then also be able to follow through with what I told. So I look forward to being able to meet everybody, enjoy the time that we spend back here, and participate with everything that we do, but also being able to go out and learn from what you guys do. So we actually have worked with Pete Lean for the last 10 years. So we've been to Franny, Wyoming. We went down to Laramie, Livermore, Colorado Springs, and we got to tour all the sites, but we got to go and ride in equipment. We've gotten to see the things that you guys do really in depth. So we went out and rode in haul trucks with you guys in the loader, and we've gone with the ready mix crew, gone out and got to pull chutes off the trucks and put them on. And we have tried to be able to plug in and see what it is you guys do to see how we can help. So we tested all the sites, and we tested them 4 things. We tested mobility, alignment, pain, and strength and stability. We'll talk more about this in depth. We call it MAPS. So this will play into the spine. This will play into what it is you guys do. But so we've been doing this for 15 years now, and it's been cutting edge over the last 15 years. And now you're seeing what we've done is all of a sudden becoming mainstream, super cool. All these big universities are going, this is a big deal. Go take care of your people. Inspire them, teach them new things, how to take care of themselves. This is it. Does anybody know the #1 cause of disability in the workplace? So back and neck pain is the #1 cause. So here's a fact. Movement becomes habit, which becomes posture, which becomes structure. This will make a ton of sense as we go through this. So again, habits become posture, become structure. So we interviewed these employees, and we have quotes from them. We're going to read them. I work out and I hike every day so I can feel better and have a good retirement. Who wants to retire? Who's dang close to retiring? So here's some of the quotes that we got as well. My back injury, my hip pain, and my leg numbness now makes it where I can't hold my Harley up and ride when the weather's good. Does that sound like retirement? I injured my ulnar nerve. It's getting worse over the last 2 years. I struggle with popping my neck and numbness down my right arm, and I don't do the normal things in my life as I used to because I don't feel like I can. This one was interesting. I didn't realize how far forward my head is when I sit like that at the computer. Other side of this, it's hard for an employee to take time off to take care of themselves. So we tested their MAPS, mobility, alignment, pain, and stability. Mobility is your degrees of motion. How far your neck bends, forward, backwards, side-side rotation. Middle back bends forward, backwards. Low back bends forward, backwards. So we tested everybody, and we did it with guys and gals that have only been here over 10 years. They had to have a real good dose of Pete Lean and Sons. They had to have this big dose of Pete Lean and Sons. Alignment is posture from the side or from the front, shifting to the side, okay, or centered, or posture hunched forward, or backwards, whatever it is for them. So we measured it. Pain. Has anybody ever had back pain here? Really? Has anybody ever had back pain here? Okay. Has anybody ever had neck pain here? Okay. Anybody have both? Okay. All right. So pain was a score that was measured as well. We also measured the shoulder and the lower extremity. And then strength and stability, like pinch, grip, lifts, those types of things. These are the results. Neck on the top left, mid back, low back on the bottom left. Mobility, column next, alignment, and then pain scores on the right. Mobility, we had neck and middle back mobility loss. Low back, not as much. Alignment, they had about a 50% of the group had bad alignment, and the average head carriage was over 2 inches forward, which is a lot. Everybody say, wow. Turns the head into an average of a 45-pound or 43-pound head. So then you take the pain scores, and the pain scores are 89 and 84% prevalence for people that have active neck or active back pain. So ready mix trucks. Do you pay attention to uptime or downtime as a percentage? Like if you're up 100% of the time?
We track that.
Okay. So let's say trucks, you should probably shoot for like 90%-ish. Like, and quarry, same with your equipment. Even lime plant, what happens when the lime plant goes down unplanned? Like, ooh, right?
Don't have to wash your car next week.
So when the lime plant goes down, it takes days for that thing to heat back up to get back and running again even. So with this, when we did the dysfunction scores, you have the dysfunction scores of 35%. So when our dysfunction scores show up at 35%, you're functioning at 65% of your capacity. Does that make sense? Your downtime is you have 65% availability. So my team at Fit to Lift, we really do care about what you guys do, but we really care about how you guys feel, and not just you, your loved ones as well. We want you guys to make sure that you understand that we are here to be able to answer questions for you. And then this is my team over here. Dr. Kilby's my business partner. He's the tall cowboy on the left up there. And then we have Minda. We have Gabe. Gabe's going through, he's working with us now. He was interning last year with us, and he's going to chiropractic school this next year. And then we have about 9 employees at the office, and anything we can do to help, we will do it. So the other side of this too is we have clinics across the country that we work with. If there isn't a clinic in a spot that you need, or where one of the locations are, we'll strive to find a clinic that's able to do the things that we do to be able to help you guys and implement what we do for you as well. Concept time. Structural problems create structural failure. Okay? So everybody, all repeat with me. Structural problems create structural failure. Structural problems create structural failure. So if you're making bad ready mix that's not quality controlled well, or the lime's not produced at the right, you get these little things that build up over time and you create structural failure, right? This building, a few years ago, there's hundreds of families that are living in it. And what happens when the structural problems are really ignored. This is it. So in the very far back of this video that you'll see, in the middle, I want you to pay attention. So they were bringing this up to the managers. Hey, we're seeing some problems. Costs too much. Takes too much time. We can't pull the residents out of the building and then do the repairs. It takes too much effort and energy. We can do it later. It fell. Killed hundreds of families. The structural problems were there and they knew about it. So they ended up having the warnings for a long time, but they just chose not to. But why do I tell the story though? Why do I tell the structural story? Why do I tell the trucks with the twisting story? This really relates to your spine. Your spine is the structure that holds your body upright. Same thing, do they show up out of nowhere? The problems? Do they fix themselves? What happens if we ignore them? Structural problems should never, ever, ever be ignored. So not because we're too busy, not because we don't have the time, not because we don't have the money. Doesn't matter if it's buildings, bridges, your equipment, or your spine. So what costs more? Prevention or structural failure? We're going to talk about the spine and your structure. The curves are meant to be in your spine in certain spots. We're going to talk about how it protects the nerves, protects them from interference or stretch, and also the organs that are within your body. So we talk about the spine, there's 3 different views of it. Straight on this way, turn to the side this way. You can see that there's supposed to be a curve forward in the neck, okay? A curve rounded this way in your mid-back and a curve forward in your low back. When it's from this direction or this direction, what happens when we take and it's structurally shifted off to the side? Not good. This is a normal joint on the far left-hand side. This is an abnormal joint on this right-hand side. So we have the bone and the red disc on the left, and then we have the bone again. And they all protect the spinal cord just behind it, down through a tunnel in the back. And then it has little nerves that come off the side. On the right-hand side, when you start to see structural failure, joints stuck, not moving, or deformities that are happening and shifting in abnormal positions. Here's x-rays. X-rays of a normal spine on the far left of the neck. You can see the skull up top and the jaw and the teeth. You see the spine as far as the curve in the neck, and you can see squares. The squares are the bone. The cushions, or the black space in between, are the cushion, the discs. Just like your seat in a truck that bounces. Without that bounce, you have 2 blocks sitting pounding on each other. Wouldn't be good in a truck. On the far right-hand side, you have structural failure. You have accelerated degeneration or arthritis. You have increased pain or disability for the human. This ends up causing more problems and decreases quality of life, so you don't want to live as long as you did before. So the red line, as it comes up on this right-hand side, it buckles forward and shifts and takes off on its own direction. So the cushions are not as big, and you can see the squares are not squares anymore. They're starting to grow bone growths or outriggers out. Those are bone spurs. Your body's just scrambling to support it. Inside of those bones, you have the nerves, the spinal cord, and you have all the nerves that come out to the rest of the body. They come out to the lungs, they come out to the viscera, the organs, and make them function. So things that we'll talk about will be like constipation, shortness of breath, those types of things. So this on the far left-hand side is a normal curve in the mid-back. So if you're standing facing this way, the normal one is upright, top over bottom. The curve is not too much. The one on the far right is structural failure. These are patients that walk in the door with structural failure like this. The red lines that start curving, you can see down bottom again, the same squares with the black spaces. So starting at the bottom, you see a big square, black space. Big square, black space. Big square, black space. See that start to curve up in the black space? You're starting to see degeneration. The bone is starting to get smashed. Structural failure. Same thing with this one. This one's like wedge shaped. This one's really wedge shaped. It's collapsing. The part that is important to pay attention to is here. This is your lungs and your heart. Shortness of breath. A lot of compression on your guts. This is a low back from the side again. Tailbone down at the bottom. Tailbone here. Disc here. Bone there. Disc here. Big thick disc. Red line takes off in its own direction. Pinches right here. Pinches the disc. This is back pain. This is sciatica. Structural failure. So then we have this. Does anybody know someone with scoliosis? Okay? Scoliosis is a bend in the spine that goes a different direction. So this structure, you can see this femur or leg if they're standing, taking the x-ray. This one is lower than this one. You have much more distance here. So the structure's tipping like this, causing a lot of the scoliosis. So this curve now is predisposed in a bad position. It is not designed to take this load. This curve actually increases in curve between 1/4 and 1 1/4 degrees per year of life. So if you're 20, you have a lot of years of life and an increased progression of degrees over your next 20, 30, 50 years. So the crazy part is it doesn't stop there. Your body tries to compensate. So you have multiple curves in scoliosis, multiple structural failures. So when I was in chiropractic school, we dissected a cadaver. They rolled him out and gave us our person. And so I got Bill. Bill's my cadaver. And so there's 4 of us working on Bill, and we took and dissected him out. Just like dressing a deer, take the back straps out and exposes the bone, the ligaments. Then we got a die grinder, a bone saw. Both sides of the spine. So you feel the bumps right here. We took and cut on the top of it and like a zipper and unzipped Bill's spine. Right there's the spinal cord with all the nerves showing us this picture. The one on the left, you can see vertically is the spinal cord. And the cool part is they inject these cadavers with latex, blue in the veins and red in the arteries. And so you get to see the arteries and the veins like in your face. So the spinal cord is laid in there nicely. You can see how the veins are big and thick and juicy, the black. And then as the nerve comes out and goes out to the side by the little arrow, you can see there's slack in it. You can see the veins themselves are thicker there. So then on the right-hand side, you take your cadaver, sit them up and sit them in a bad postural distortion. Put an abnormal structural load on their spine. It stretches the spinal cord so much that it actually thins out the blood vessels. It thins out the neurons themselves so they can't even send the right information. So we talked about numbness in hands, feet, or we talked about neck pain and back pain. So when we have numbness in hands or feet, abnormal stretch or compression on these tissues. The shape of the neck, okay, normal, not normal. The shape of the neck, loss of curve, decreases blood flow to the brain. Headaches, migraines, even foggy thought. If you want to increase the blood flow to the brain, you improve the curve and take the tension off the spinal cord and all those arteries and veins. So when we talk about the nerves and structure, every one of the nerves come from the spine and go to the organs. If you want organs to decrease their function, you stretch the nerves. If you want to increase their function, you take the stretch off of them. On the left-hand side, you see a lot of the symptoms that can just be increased and increased over time and turn into bigger problems. So why is this important? Who here has a hobby? Things that they like to go do? We want you guys to be able to do what you love. Hang out with the people you enjoy. If they're not feeling well, we want them to be able to do the things that they enjoy and love. Another question. Who here goes to the dentist? The harder question, who here doesn't go to the dentist? Okay, don't answer that. So we go to the dentist, and they do a really good job of testing your teeth to see the health of them, right? To see the health of your gums, see if they're inflamed, you're building up calculus, losing teeth for some reason. They're gauging to see your risk factors. Did you know that if you don't take care of your teeth, you have increased cardiovascular risk problems like heart attack, stroke? It's crazy. Inflamed gums lead to major cardiovascular problems. So they do this good job of measuring. They stick these little metal rods between your gums and measure 1, 2, or 3. Is it a tall gum or not? And then give them a high five, tell you keep flossing, right? Good job, keep flossing. So the question is, how do you know if your spine's good? How do we know the warning signs before? So we've developed this evaluation that every one of you are going to learn today, and you're going to learn it so well, you're going to be able to do it to the other people here. The mobility, the alignment, the pain, and stability. Those 4 categories. You get 5 points, maybe. So it's out of 5 points. This is what you just said, right? The bottom red and yellow line, this is the pain line. My spine hurts, doesn't hurt. Coming from over here, feel pretty good. All of a sudden, oh, my back hurts. I go take care of it, stretch, get adjusted, go to the chiropractor, go to the physical therapist, whatever it is that you do. Get it out of the pain. Oh, came back a year later, same time of year, whatever. And then it starts getting closer. Now it's 6 months. Now it's 3 months, and it's always discomfort, always pain. Pain is a very poor yardstick to measure your health. MAPS, once you jump on the MAPS bandwagon, you understand mobility, alignment, pain, and stability. Pain is important to understand, but being able to take and watch other things, as you improve them, you stay away from the pain side. So what causes them? Accumulations of injuries over time, like slips, falls, accidents, car crashes, whatever the things are that are traumatic. What about poor daily habits? Could be the things we eat, things we drink, the stresses we have. Could be ergonomic conditions, bouncing around in a cab. They build up over time. If I ask you to look back at these guys, the young guys, do things build up over time?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, all right. So when we did these posture pictures, so we had some people that were off to this side, and we took it, and they were here the last time, and they were better, like 30, 40% better. Pretty cool. We had some of them that were worse, okay? Some of them that were fatter too. So the photos that you'll take, the computer will point out your postural points, and you'll get to see those as well. So remember when we talked about anterior head carriage? So anybody that's ever changed a tire, you want to have leverage when you're breaking a nut loose, right? Make your job easier. The problem is when your neck sticks forward, that's a lever that creates a lot more accumulation of injuries and wear and tear on the discs and trauma. So at the fire department, those guys work hard too. Then they have a high predominance of pain within the fire department. But they work out every single day. They tested pretty dang good on strength. They tested pretty dang good on mobility. So what their situation is, they don't sleep for crap. Their nutrition is extremely poor. And so what happens with the nutrition, and it builds up over time, and it changes the hormones that you produce. Does anybody like testosterone? Okay, right? Testosterone's a great hormone, builds up muscle strength. It doesn't matter men or women. It builds up strength, it builds up vigor. There's even businesses now built around hormones. If your hormones are down and you don't sleep well, we tested a ton of the firefighters. Chronically low in testosterone, chronically high in cortisol. So when they're high in cortisol, what ends up happening is that it downregulates testosterone production as well. So we get weaker, we get fatter, and less energy. So stress accumulates over time. We get to go on events and see speakers all the time, and we'll take the whole team, and just so happens that Sam got to come with on a super cool presentation. She has a story for you.
So we went to a public speaking conference. This would have been almost 2 years ago now. Has anyone ever heard of Roberto Monaco? No? You guys should look him up. Super cool dude. A lot of fun. So part of the conference was we got broke up into groups of 5, and it was basically just to introduce ourselves to some of the people who were taking the class with us. And we had to tell our story as to what we do and why we do what we do. So I went through my whole story doing all this fun stuff. And the next guy who came up, his name was Paul. And Paul was a farmer, and he's from Central Washington. He was 3rd or 4th generation, I can't remember, but he had just taken over the family operation. So part of the reason to him being at the public speaking conference was so he could learn to get out into the community, talk about what he does. And he wanted to make some changes. You know, 3 generations, everything gets ran the same way, and then you throw a young, spunky person into it, they want to change some things. People don't like change. So his dad, Grandpa, no, we're not going to change anything. They were shipping their cows, their pigs, 12 or 15 hours away from the farm to get slaughtered. Everyone's seen those semi cars on the highway or whatever with the cows, pigs packed in there like sardines, no food, no water for 15 hours. It stresses them out, okay? So he went into this whole side of what happens to the meat when the animals are stressed. So they're shipping them that far, the animals are really stressed. So one of the changes he wanted to make was, instead of shipping these cows, pigs, what have you, 12, 15 hours, he's like, let's ship them 15 minutes instead. So when he's shipping them this long distance and they get butchered, their shelf life was about 27 days for like a pack of ground beef or bacon. Seems like, you know, it's almost a month. That seems pretty darn good, right? Well, he's like, what if I can make the shelf life longer so that my product lasts longer and he can make more money? So then he starts shipping them 15 minutes. His shelf life went from 27 days up to 58 days. He doubled the life of his product. So then I sat down and I thought about it. The stress hormone, we get that built up cortisol in our body. It breaks down your muscles, your joints, can cause mood swings, brain fog, all that fun stuff, arthritis, it accelerates. So I was like, well, what about us? What happens when we're stressed? Does that same thing happen to us? Does our shelf life get reduced? So I went through a pretty stressful time. It's been almost 3 years ago now. I got pretty sick. And if I had known how to properly deal with my stress, I think I would have handled the situation a little bit different. Learning how to manage your stress and take care of it in a healthy way is so important for you guys, so that you can keep your muscles, your joints, everything healthy, and keep doing what you love. Keep playing with your kids, your grandkids. Maybe you have great grandkids. It's just so important for you guys to deal with your stress in a healthy manner, whether it be breathing exercises, hunting, fishing. If you're like me, I go home, I cry for 5 minutes, and life goes on and everything's honky-dory, okay? Whatever it may be, however your outlet is, make sure you do it. Make sure you deal with your stress so that you guys can double your shelf life, right? So just make sure that you guys are dealing with your stress so that you can keep doing what you love, and so you guys can live long, happy lives.
So from all of this information that we've put together, we've developed this program that we have to follow to a T, so I want you to pay attention to exactly what goes on during this video, okay? We're gonna give you a ton of resources and tools. The four quarterly classes that we'll do are gonna be this one today, orientation, overview of everything and why you're doing everything that we're doing. Next ones will be about focused areas on your spine, reducing or improving certain areas on your spine, both Q2, Q3, and Q4. The mobility, alignment, pain, and stability is the focus, and your improvement is the goal. So the crazy part is every single person here has a different physical ability. Some people have a hard time getting on the floor. You're gonna grab a chair, you're gonna participate as much as you can. Some people, no problems. They'll do all this stuff and we have a blast. Even if sitting in the chair, you'll have a blast. So when we start talking mobility, the guy on Monday was talking about how he still does to this day what we told him every single night. He uses the tools, rolls his feet out. Feet feel much better, helps him a ton. Him and his wife sit in the chair, they'll do the same thing. So the stuff that you learn, it's not just for you, okay? Mobility, alignment, pain, and stability. One of the tests is a test with using this Brazilian study. And this is the one that challenges the really fit. And then we don't do it with some of the people that can't do it at this point. Knowing where you're at in this test is important, okay? So if everybody can see me, when we go to get on the ground, it's important to watch how we get on the ground. Quality of life is important. So this study took with this test, and they tested a few hundred people, and then they retested them every couple of years, all the way out to like 5 to 10 years. The crazy part, the ones that contacted the ground the most times were dead. So your quality of life is determined also by how you move. So the test looks like this. You go to get on the ground. If you get taken and put your hands on the ground, each contact is a point. 1, 2, 3. Got it? 3 times. 4, 5 times. Okay. Or you can do it this way. Down and up. No times. Okay, so we're all going to do that test. And it doesn't matter if you get 17 of them right now. It's more important that you're going from 17 down to 5 or 5 down to 3 or whatever your number is. Okay? Do not push yourself too hard. So mobility and strength, highly important. So we talked about posture. How was it? Terrible. So we got older, or not old, but just older. So these phases, do they get better or worse with time? With the curves, the degeneration, now we know what's going on in your spine. Shifting forward, leaning further and further forward, okay? So as time multiplies these activities and these forces, you get way more degeneration, way more arthritis. So this is Linda. This is her x-ray. Have you ever had someone in your life just like grab a hold of you and shake you, like internally, and change you for the rest of your life? Whew. So Linda's a patient. I've seen her for years and years. She's got horrible structure. She's got a lot of health problems. Linda walks with a walker, and her dog, she loves her dog. And so the walker, not like this one, okay? The walker that's like this, and she'll walk down the sidewalk to force herself upright, but her neck, she can't even look up. She can't turn her head either. So Linda's spine is degenerating, and she's in my office, and she's like, I need help. I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I've worked on her for a year, 2 years, and finally I'm sitting down, I'm like, Linda, I don't know if we can keep doing this. She goes, really? I'm like, yeah, this is bad. We're not seeing tremendous wow changes. If I could change and go back 25 years with your spine, I could make a bigger difference. So what ended up happening was Linda sat me down and she goes, if you don't take and help me, I'm gonna do it at my house by myself, hang myself upside down, and work on it myself. So am I better off doing it here or by myself, Dr. Bob? Okay, I'll get back to work. So I'm like, Linda, can I push on your ribs? We're gonna start pulling on your ribs, doing more traction. And I reach over, slide your arm forward, and I go, I'm gonna pull across this way, and all of a sudden it goes crunch. Her ribs break. And I'm just pushing that hard. My gut just goes, ugh. And I'm like, Linda, she goes, Dr. Bob, let's get to work. Okay, here we go. So we work on Linda. She is not a person that's gonna get much better, but we can prevent her from getting worse. So that conversation about 25 years, if I could go back 25 years, her son walks in the door. That's his x-ray. The same dang structure, the same dang maps. Kevin's like, Dr. Bob, my back's hurting, and it's radiating down my leg. I'm like, oh, Linda's in my head just shaking me. Don't mess this up. I'm like, all right, let's get to work. So we start working on Kevin, start working on the structure. No matter where he's at, no matter where Linda's at, we're gonna work on it. We know where he's headed if we don't do a good job. So we work on him for 2 to 3 months, get to a point where like, nope, we still have more to go. So I push him another month or two. This far left x-ray is his now x-ray. So we've improved him between 40 and 60%, somewhere around the 50% mark. Kevin does not have back pain. Kevin will not be like his mom. His structure is way better. Even if he degenerates some, he will not end up like his mom. Kevin is a fantastic understander of his maps. I went back in time. I got another chance. So when we do all this work, what happens is after you do it and you get results, you start to see research come out and say, this is actually making a difference. Or you get to see what we thought was a bad problem, degeneration and leaning forward and kyphosis in these research articles now show significant changes in outcomes of life as they start to degenerate and fall forward. These problems make the quality of life worse. So we're gonna go over a map score, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're gonna do that, and it's time for us to be able to go through it. And we're gonna learn about how to evaluate each of these 4 different groups of tests. So the mobility, the alignment, the pain, and the stability. So that's what we're gonna do next. So I'm gonna have everybody jump on up. We're gonna go back for about 10 minutes.